1918, in the first great war of the skies, 1 in every 3 of Britain's aviators came from Canada. Amid the fury of unnumbered dogfights, Canadians won deathless fame. Bishop, Collishaw, and Rogers, these names will ever live in the story of the air. Riding the storm of fire and lead, the men of Canada found their wings. The fury passed. Canada's flyers exchanged the tools of war for the implements of peace. Above the solitude of lake and forest, they bent their skill to the progress of their country. From the air, they mapped whole regions little known before. They guarded the silent forests from the menace of fire. No barons, they left towns and mines and growing wealth. They created the tradition of the bush pilot, resourceful, lonely flyers, at home with solitude and danger. So through the post-war years, the experience of these pioneers built for Canada a system of commercial air routes second to none the world over in personnel and planes. Today, Canada's veterans of the air are back in harness again, for on their shoulders falls a new responsibility to train in their skill and daring a new generation of flyers, a generation enrolled in the greatest scheme of air defense ever undertaken, the Commonwealth Air Training Plan. From every part of Canada they come, young men enlisting in a fighting force where only youth can serve. Gérald Carrière from Trois-Rivières, Quebec. Wilf Miss from Weyburn on the prairies. Jack Liney's from Kelowna in the mountains of British Columbia. Harry Bridgeo town. Raw rookies today, but tomorrow, pilots, observers, air gunners. And while they drill, the framework of the giant plan takes shape from coast to coast. Flying schools in the maritime provinces at Moncton, Summerside, Chatham. Training centers for observers, gunners, mechanics beside the lakes of Ontario and Quebec. Concrete runways in the sunlight of the prairies. A shore defense in war, a heritage for peaceful progress in the saner world beyond. And on the Pacific coast, hangars to house seaplanes and giant flying boats. Day and night, in plants all across the Dominion, the pulse of production quickens as Canada's aircraft industry gears itself to supply the 4,000 planes ultimately needed for the plan. Tough, sturdy little trainers, ruggedly built to take the knocks of a beginner's handling. From overseas comes every plane that hard-pressed Britain can spare, while from across the border flows a steady stream of aircraft to swell the swift-growing armada on Canadian soil. And far off across the Pacific, in Australia and New Zealand, rolls in the same tide of planes and men. But in modern flying, the last result depends on the single individual. One mind, one man trained for the split seconds of battle. By the time the budding flyer has been through the mill, tests of heart and lungs, tests of mental reaction, tests for coordination of brain and eye, every response has been checked, every capacity measured.
I feel rather like a bug under a microscope, sir. Have you decided yet what I'm going to be, sir?
This list here will tell us. Yes, you're a pilot.
In the decompression chamber, the new pilot gets the feel of the air without leaving the ground. In the rarefied atmosphere of 17,000 feet, he dons his oxygen mask and accustoms himself to a new mode of breathing. Finally, he gets his first taste of what it will be like to be alone in the clouds. In the Link trainer, he learns the magic touch on the joystick, the touch that has made pilots say that flying is the only realm where individualism counts for everything and where the spirit of youth is at the controls. But before he is allowed to fly, he must go through a long and exacting grind on the ground. He must master the mathematics needed for aerial navigation. He must get to know the whole modern world of radio communication. He must get accustomed to working under the actual conditions of warfare. He must know, like every fighting man, how to take discipline. And though he may never have to bail out in his life, he must find out how parachutes behave. Then, through a new marvel of science, he learns safely on the ground, the most difficult of all the pilot's tasks, to fly by instruments alone. In the blind link trainer, listening in his phones to the instructor's directions, he acquires the personal skill that will one day enable him to fly 600 miles over a darkened Europe to Germany.
You will now do a spin. Close the throttle. Move the control column fully back and apply full rudder. Look out, there's rough weather ahead. Keep your airplane straight and level.
In the same way, his instructor teaches him to use the Lorentz beam, which will guide him to a safe landing in England when fog and blackout have hidden his home field. The interrupted note tells him that he is coming into the path of the beam to take up his true course. Carefully, he crosses the airfield, turns, and comes down for a blind landing. It looks easy, and so it is to the overconfident. But one instrument, the altimeter, escapes his eye. He forgets that he is losing height too fast. Pilot dies horrible death. Day by day, the plan grows in size and scope as ever more planes come into active service. But for every pilot in the air, there must be some 20 men on the ground for maintenance and overhaul. So at St. Thomas, Ontario, an army of 3,000 young mechanics gathers to master the intricacies of modern aircraft. Starting from the motors of the small trainers, they work their way up to the giant Merlin engines of the British fighters. But even to the most advanced trainee, this maze of struts and wires is sometimes just a Chinese puzzle.
Hey, Art, where the hell does this piece go?
I wouldn't know. I've never been to Ball since I left the farm.
Side by side with the pilot, the air gunner and the bomb aimer learn their deadly trades. The machine gun is the warbird's friend, his weapon both of attack and defense. The experienced gunner will concentrate his fire. But with the beginner, the kick of the gun throws the shooting all over the target. Overhead flies the bomb aimer, his aim tested without his ever dropping a bomb. His target is the L-shaped building directly below. Here, observers watch an image of the plane as it crosses the sky. The bomb aimer releases not a bomb, but a brilliant flash. The watchers below mark off the position of the flash on their paper, and with the aid of a metronome, they can calculate the exact spot where the real bomb would have fallen.
Who's it up there today? Well, that's Tommy. He claims he's the best bomb aimer in the state. Watch it, here he comes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. He missed by a quarter of a mile. Thought you said he was good. Oh, no. I said he said he was good.
So back to school goes Tommy to learn his job all over on the ground. The machine projects an aerial landscape on the floor below him, a photograph containing the objective he's going to bomb. Sitting beside him is a pilot who can move the landscape just as it would move when seen from a plane. Tommy has bombed these oil tanks 100 times before on paper, and he fondly hopes this salvo will be his last. 9 weeks of intensive training pass, and at last comes the day when the pilot makes his first flight alone.
How would you like to go solo today?
Very much, sir.
You feel you can carry on by yourself, do you?
I think so, sir.
All right, we'll send you right up. Now, before we do, there are a number of points you must remember. First, you have to make an inspection of the aircraft and the usual cockpit check, and then run up the engine. After that, you must also remember that the aircraft's lighter, and you'll have to trim it accordingly.
Just one circuit at 1,000 feet?
Yes, just one this time. Away you go.
Okay.
Good luck. Gas on.
Gas on.
Switch off.
Switch off.
Throttle closed.
Throttle closed.
Throttle set.
Throttle set.
Contact.
Contact.
Ailerons okay, elevators okay, rudder okay. Gee, seems bigger up here, all alone. Steady there. Must be getting rougher. That's right. Said it would handle differently. Well, nothing to be worried about. Let's try vertical bank. Stick over. Nose up. Round we come.
He is alone in a sea of clouds. Hour by hour, day by day, he learns to conquer the vast, uncharted spaces of the sky. Beneath his hand, the throttle of his roaring motor. Before his eyes, the flash of his propeller and the gleaming sunlight shining on his wings. Alone in a timeless, limitless world, a world of freedom where a man's will and action become one, the world of magic known only to the flyer. So he graduates from the exhilaration of his first solo flights to ever larger and faster aircraft. He learns to share responsibility with the crew who fly with him, with the all-important observer, with the radio operator, bomb aimer, gunner. For these men, each as highly trained as the pilot himself, make up the fighting unit of the clouds. Then comes a red-letter day, when before the whole assembled station, the new pilot gains his wings, the coveted emblem signifying that he is no longer an apprentice, but a flyer. In these pilots, receiving their wings from one of the greatest aces of the last war, Air Marshal Bishop, Canada renews her great flying tradition and her pledge in the service of the Commonwealth. So youth takes to the clouds and spreads its wings above the vast land of Canada. Wings above the rivers of the east, above the Restigouche, the Nashwaak, the Miramichi, and the Thousand Islands of the St. Lawrence. Westward above the Mattawa, the Nipigon, and the broad Saskatchewan curving through the horizons of the prairie. Wings in a rushing world of wind and speed, where the battle for individual right is fought by individual skill. Wings far across the ocean, above the mountains of New Zealand, Aotearoa, the island of the long white cloud. Wings above Sydney Bay, where the white surf of the Pacific rolls in upon Australia's coast. Youth with wings, riding the skies of the free dominions. You who are young, we salute you, for never in the field of human conflict was so much owed by so many to so few.